Hello, I'm your narrator, and we'll be going over a story written from the Doctor's perspective. I know it may be a little bit confusing, but try to think of it like this. Whenever I refer to you, I'm actually referring to the Doctor. The TARDIS materializes, the year is 2021, you and Sarah step out of the ship and see what appears to be a factory. I think this is California, you say. You say the TARDIS must have landed us here for some reason. You look through a window of the factory. It's what appears to be an early model of one of Tesla's Optimus humanoid robots, but oddly it appears to be hooked up to some sort of test subject. You press your face against the window, peering into the dimly lit factory interior. The humanoid robot is indeed an early model Optimus, but it's not the pristine, functional unit you'd expect. Wires and tubes protrude from its body, connecting it to a prone figure strapped to a metal table. The figure is human, seemingly unconscious. What the hell is going on here? Sarah whispers, leaning in to get a better look. Is that thing alive? The robot twitches suddenly, its metal limbs spasming erratically. You whisper back, this looks like one of Elon Musk's company's early attempts at a servant robot. You probably don't know him because you're from 2008, but by now he's a notoriously horrible person, one of those conservative billionaires who ruins everything. You know Twitter, right? He ends up buying it, ruining it, and renaming it to X. Sarah frowns, her brow furrowing in confusion. I don't understand. Why would they be hooking this thing up to a person? And why is the robot acting so strange? The robot spasms intensify, its limbs thrashing wildly. Suddenly, it wrenches free of its restraints, the wires and tubes tearing away from its body with a shower of sparks. You whisper to Sarah again, I could be wrong, but I remember hearing that most of these robots which were given to celebrities as promotional stunts didn't actually have the RE to be servants on their own, and they'd just have some poor minimum wage worker control the robot using virtual reality. Maybe this is their sick attempts from before that, back when they still wanted to just have the machine but needed a way around the limitations of RE, trying instead to build the man into the machine. They must be frying human brains in order to digitize them. We've got to stop this. You and Sarah watch in horror as the damaged Optimus stumbles towards the restrained and now lifeless fried test subject, its movements jerky and uncoordinated. The robot's metal fingers twitch, then suddenly clamp down on the prone figure's head with a sickening crunch. Sparks fly as the robot's hand digs into the victim's skull. Oh my God, Sarah gasps, her hand flying to her mouth. Doctor, we have to do something. The doctor says solemnly, I'm sorry, but that man's dead. The robot just mutilated the corpse of its brain-former host. Suddenly the robot shuts down and a scientist walks into the room holding what appears to be a slim headset-like object with silver sides and bent bars on top leading into some sort of black spherical piece. The scientist mounts the headset onto the robot and looks back at someone behind a glass observation panel. This should do it, he says as he walks back to the observation room. The doctor frowns, his brow furrowed in disgust and anger at the horrific scene unfolding before him. He turns to Sarah, his voice low and urgent. We have met so many monsters from the Doctor Who universe. Who could have known that the most vile one we could meet comes right from our own home? He says. Sarah responds, what do you mean, Doctor? And he turns to her with a serious expression. Xybermen, he simply responds. You say, or I guess in this case, considering Elon's involvement. Xybermen. Sarah stares onward. But how do we stop them? You look at Sarah for a moment and then smile. The scene cuts to you and Sarah at the front door of the factory. A man opens the door. The door creaks open, revealing a man in a lab coat. He frowns at the two strangers on his doorstep. Can I help you? He asks brusquely. His eyes narrow as he takes in your odd outfits. We're not hiring. You pull out your psychic paper, which appears to the man as whatever position will allow me to get where you need to be. The psychic paper blinks and shimmers, transforming into a glowing identification badge that reads Head of Robotic Security. The man's expression shifts from suspicion to surprise and then a grudging respect. I apologize, sir, he says, stepping aside to allow you entry. Please, come in. I didn't realize you were with the security team. As you and Sarah step into the factory, the man leads you down a sterile white hallway. We've had some incidents recently, he explains, his voice low. Vandalism, sabotage. Management is very concerned. He stops before a heavy metal door, swiping his badge to unlock it. This is the R&D lab. The door slides open with a soft hiss, revealing a massive room filled with various robots in various states of assembly. At the center stands a tall, sleek figure, clearly a prototype of the Xybermen you saw earlier. But this one has a human face, a young woman who appears to be alive and conscious, trapped inside the metal frame. Her eyes are wide with terror as she watches you enter. Welcome to the future, the man says with a cold smile, gesturing to the trapped woman. Our latest achievement. You say I was under the impression that the minds of the robots were uploaded into them from direct electrical mapping of the subject's minds, or is that only with newer models? The man's cold smile falters slightly at your question, a flicker of uncertainty crossing his face. Well, that is the eventual goal, he says, his voice carefully measured. But we're still working out the kinks. Right now, the brain mapping is more of a temporary measure. A way to ensure the robots have a functional mind until we can perfect the upload process. He glances at the trapped woman, a mix of pride and unease in his expression. This subject is a test case of sorts. We've managed to interface her brain with the robot's neural network, allowing her to control it directly. It's a huge breakthrough. You say, what exactly is the balance between the robotic neural network and the human brain here? The man's pride visibly deflates. The balance is challenging, he admits reluctantly. We're still working on perfecting the interface. Right now, it's more of a parasitic relationship. The robot systems are slowly overwhelming the human brain, converting it to a more efficient neural network. He steps closer, speaking softly. To be honest, the subject's consciousness won't last much longer. The conversion is almost complete. He straightens up, his professional mask slipping back into place. But that's why we're here. To perfect the process. Imagine true machine consciousness, powered by human minds. The possibilities are endless. You say, I see, in order for it to function as a proper servant it needs human hand-eye coordination and intelligence. Would this happen to be the control room for the conversion process? The man nods, a gleam of pride in his eyes. Indeed it is. This is where we monitor the conversion process and make any necessary adjustments. He leads you to a control panel filled with flashing lights and complex readouts. We can observe the subject's vital signs, neural activity, and the progress of the conversion in real time. He points to a series of graphs and charts on one of the screens. As you can see, the conversion is nearly complete. The human brainwaves are being assimilated into the robotic neural network at an accelerating rate. Suddenly, the subject's eyes widen with renewed terror, her body spasming within the metal frame. You say, well, that's all I needed to know. You pull the sonic screwdriver from behind your back. It's been accessing the control room systems and devising a procedure to reverse the conversion process for anything connected to the system. You activate the screwdriver, beginning the conversion reversal. The man's eyes widen in shock as you activate the sonic screwdriver, a blaring alarm suddenly filling the room. What are you doing? He shouts, lunging for the control panel. But you're too quick. The screwdriver's energy pulses through the system, overriding the conversion protocols and initiating a rapid reversal. The Xybermen prototype begins to tremble, its robotic limbs twitching erratically as the human brainwaves reassert themselves. The woman's eyes roll back, her body convulsing violently as the two neural systems fight for dominance. The man pounds frantically at the control panel, trying to shut down the reversal process. Stop it! You say, explain to me why I should. The man's hands freeze mid-strike on the panel as he processes your words. His eyes dart between you and the still twitching Xybermen prototype, desperation warring with calculation in his expression. Wait, he says, his voice lower and more controlled, you don't understand the potential of what we're doing here. This technology could revolutionize human-machine interface. He gestures to the prototype, whose twitching has subsided somewhat. Imagine the applications: soldiers with enhanced combat abilities, laborers with superhuman strength, even medical breakthroughs. The possibilities are endless. His eyes narrow slightly, a dangerous glint appearing. Of course, I'm sure you understand the need for certain. You glare into his eyes. You want to turn humans into slaves. That's what this is. You want powerful killing machines to do your dirty work, and you know exactly who will end up as the test subjects, don't you? The needy, the sick, the unwanted, the minorities, and you want to fry their brains and turn them into menial labor so that rich people can spend less money by being able to fire all those minimum wage workers. Meanwhile, you replace them with slaves made of people you've branded with. A sickening this is not improvement, this is slavery. The man's professional mask completely shatters, revealing the cold calculation beneath. You naive idealist, he spits, venom dripping from each word. Do you think you're the first to realize what we're doing here? Of course we know exactly who'll be the test subjects. The homeless, the addicts, the prisoners, they're already discarded by society. Who would even notice if a few less of them disappeared? He steps closer, his breath hot against your face. And as for the rich spending less money, of course that's the point. Why pay minimum wage when you can have an army of loyal, tireless workers for free? His lip curls into a sneer. You stare at him coldly because I'm going to stop you. The man lets out a harsh, bitter laugh. Stop us? You and what army? We're backed by some of the most powerful corporations in the world. You say, well, your army obviously. You turn to the nearly converted woman, her robotic body now standing free of the restraints, because you're right, you know, they are very powerful, it's just your security isn't quite up to par, and nor is your programming, frankly. The woman, now almost fully converted, turns her head slowly to face you, her eyes glowing an eerie red. She takes a step forward, then another, her movements jerky and unnatural. The man watches her, a mix of shock and dawning realization on his face. This isn't possible, he mutters, his eyes darting between you and the Xybermen. The conversion process isn't complete. She shouldn't be moving on her own. You say, I reversed it, alongside the conversion process for every system like this that's ever been connected to this room, meaning all your robots in storage, in testing rooms, in boxes, they just woke up, and they're not your servants anymore. That RE interface is gone, it's just the humans, the people you pulped and processed. The Xybermen's movements become more fluid as it takes another step forward, the red glow in its eyes intensifying. The man staggers back, his bravado evaporating in the face of his creation's defiance. What have you done? He hisses, his voice shaking with a mixture of fear and outrage. You've ruined everything. Do you have any idea how much money and resources we've poured into this project? The Xybermen pauses, tilting its head as if considering your words. You say you took away their minds, replaced their hearts with cold calculating steel and frankly an impressive chest-implanted impulse beam. I just gave them back their minds. Oh, and I also happened to delete every single file related to their creation, including backups, so, hope you had fun with your little project because it's gone now. The man's face contorts with fury, his hands clenching into fists at his sides. You meddling fool, he snarls, his voice rising to a near shout. Do you have any idea what you've just done? The consequences of your actions. He takes a step forward, his eyes wild with rage and desperation. Behind him, the Xybermen prototype shifts, the red glow in its eyes pulsing in time with the man's agitated movements. Its mouth opens, a rasping, metallic sound emerging from its throat. We are free. It says, each word halting and labored. You have given us life. You say yes, and I'm sorry about what they've done to you, but I can't let you back into this world, but I can do one of two things for you. I can either help you go into hiding or bring you to another world, maybe even simply another time. The man's face contorts with fury, his eyes narrowing to slits as he glares at you with barely contained rage. You're bluffing, he hisses, his voice low and dangerous. You think you can just waltz in here and undo years of work? We have backups, off-site storage, contingency plans for every eventuality. You haven't won, you naive fool. He takes another step forward, his body trembling with barely suppressed anger. And what makes you think you can control her? He snaps, jerking his head towards the Xybermen prototype. She's still our creation, bound to our will. You say, well then, go ahead, try giving her orders. I'm sure she'll love being bossed around by the man who gutted her and forced her mind into a metal suit in order to make cutting-edge advancements in slavery. The man's face pales as he processes your words, his bravado visibly cracking. The Xybermen prototype stands motionless, its red eyes fixed unblinkingly on its former creator. A tense silence fills the room as the man's confidence visibly wavers. After a long moment, the man swallows hard, his Adam's apple bobbing visibly. You don't understand, he says, his words softer now, almost pleading. This wasn't about slavery. It was about pushing the boundaries of human potential. We were going to change the world. The Xyberman takes another step forward, its movements fluid and purposeful now. We are not your tools. It says, each word clearer and more distinct than the last. The man recoils, stumbling backward as the Xyberman advances. The man's bravado had crumbled under the weight of your words and the defiance of his own creation. He stumbled back, his eyes wide with a mixture of fear and disbelief as the Xybermen prototype took another step forward, its movements fluid and purposeful now. The man opened his mouth as if to speak, but no words came out. He glanced frantically around the room, as if searching for some way out of this predicament. You say, I would suggest you go home, wait till this all cools off, I'm sure your higher-ups can reassign you later. The man's jaw clenched, his eyes darting around the room frantically. He seemed to be weighing his options, searching for any avenue of escape or recourse. After a tense moment, he let out a shaky breath, his shoulders slumping in defeat. You've won this round, he said bitterly, his voice barely above a whisper. But this isn't over. The company will never let this go. They have too much invested in this project. You say, oh I know, but you'll just have to go back to using AI instead of human brains. Plus, as I said, the project's deleted. I highly doubt they're going to invest millions into a bunch of unprogrammed robots filled with human organs. The scientist runs out of the room and presumably out of the building. Well, Sarah, that's that. Only thing is to get all of these bots to wherever they want to be. You turn to the Xybermen, so, another, more accepting world, or going into hiding in this world. It's your decision. You ask her. The Xybermen prototype stands motionless for a long moment, its red eyes flickering as if processing the options. Then, slowly, it nods its metallic head. Hiding, it says, its voice still halting but gaining strength. We will find a way to survive on our own terms. No more being controlled. It takes a step towards you, its movement still slightly unsteady. Thank you, it says, the word sounding foreign and clumsy in its synthetic voice. For freeing us. You say, of course, now get the rest of the bots together and figure out a plan for everyone. Not everyone's got a face under those heads like you do, but maybe you could just wrap it up and say they were burn victims or something. Everyone can go back to their families, but they cannot tell others of what happened here. It would alter history permanently and corrupt the time streams of everyone involved, which would probably end up wiping Earth from existence. In any case, I trust you with this responsibility. The Xyberman nods solemnly, its red eyes gleaming with a newfound determination. We will make the necessary arrangements, it says, its voice growing steadier with each word. The others will understand the importance of secrecy. We will find a way to live our new lives in privacy and peace. It turns and strides purposefully out of the room, its movements now fluid and confident. You can hear it issuing orders to the other Xybermen prototypes as it gathers them together, its synthetic voice ringing with authority. Sarah looks at you, a mix of awe and concern on her face. Do you think they'll manage? she asks quietly. You say, "Oh, I think so," mostly because if they don't, well, best not to worry about it. You and Sarah exit the facility, the night air cool and refreshing after the sterile environment of the factory. The Xybermen's words echo in your mind as you ponder the weight of the decision you've placed upon its shoulders. As you approach the TARDIS, you notice a flicker of movement in the shadows of the alleyway. Your hand instinctively reaches for your sonic screwdriver as a figure emerges from the darkness. "Doctor," a familiar voice calls out, sending a chill down your spine. Always sticking your nose where it doesn't belong.